Let's turn to Rula Amin. She's the Senior Communications Advisor for the UN's Refugee Agency, also known as UNHCR, and she joins us live from Damascus. Rula, Amin, we heard from a reporter there who's been covering the earthquake in both countries. Talk to me about what your teams, what you yourself, you were in Aleppo. What is the situation on the ground in northwest Syria 11 days after this devastating earthquake?
It's very sad. It's catastrophic. We've been to Aleppo, we've been to Latakia, we've been to villages that were severely hit by the earthquake. And, today we were in a village called Jabla, and just in one neighborhood, we had 24 buildings had collapsed in that neighborhood, more than 150 people killed just in that one neighborhood. And even the buildings that did not collapse, many of them now are not safe for people to return to and had been evacuated because the structure had sustained significant damage and it needs to be checked further. We went to schools that had been turned into collective shelters. Families were sharing classrooms to sleep there. They came in, they had run out of their homes and they couldn't go back or had lost their homes completely. They need shelter, they need food, they need water, they need winter clothes, they need mattresses. This is coming, the earthquake hit at the time with a severe snowstorm, and really the temperatures are freezing. So these people are also very cold. Last night there was an earthquake actually in Latakia again. It wasn't strong, but people felt it. They ran out of their classrooms. They stayed in the courtyard all night. And so in the morning when we went there, they were so cold, so sleepy, so tired, so exhausted. And it really shows you the extent and the impact of the earthquake. We have to remember this earthquake hit at a time when people had been really exhausted after 12 years of crisis. More than 6.8 million people had been displaced in Syria, are still displaced in Syria, and had run out of their homes past 12 years. Now many are displaced again.
Yeah, I mean, it's like disaster after disaster, Rula. I want to ask you if the aid is really getting to the vulnerable people who need it the most.
We are trying to get as much aid as possible to as many people as possible. But even the people we give, we are able to reach and we are supporting. We give them mattresses, we give blankets, we give winter clothing, we help with the shelter, in the collective shelters. But we have to remember that the impact of the earthquake is going to be beyond those immediate needs. Many lives were lost, a lot of homes collapsed, but the earthquake has also hit schools, hospitals, roads, infrastructure, sources of clean water are at risk. So what we need is to support these people for the next few weeks, few months, even years, in order to be able to overcome the impact of the earthquake.
So, Rula, what are the long-term needs here?
The long-term needs, first, all these people that are now staying in shelters, they need a permanent solution, whether it's another home or better kind of accommodation, but it's not sustainable to stay in these shelters for long. Many of these collective shelters are basically mosques and schools, and which means that the education and the learning process, not only for those families who fled their homes, but even for people who didn't lose their homes and they are still at their homes, their kids can't go back to school because the schools are being used as collective shelters to host these people, to shield them from the weather, to put a roof on top of their heads. We have to look at schools that had been damaged. It could be that they sustained damage and they're not safe anymore. Health clinics. It has happened, as you said, it's a crisis on top of a crisis. Even before the earthquake hit, about 57% only of the health facilities and hospitals in Syria were functional. So many people were injured as a result of this earthquake, more than 10,000. There is a need for medical equipment. So it's the extent of the impact of this damage and the losses is unfolding every day, and every day our assessment is that the needs are huge, The needs are immense, and people need support. Syrians
Yeah,
need the international
you are
community.
absolutely right about that, especially considering so many survivors, families, women, children, men will be dealing with trauma from this disaster for months and years to come. Rula Amin, thank you so much.
Thank you.